What if I told you that one of the most unforgettable moments involving Elvis Presley and Muhammad Ali was never a championship fight, never a concert, and never a headline-making controversy? What if I told you it began with a challenge so unexpected that everyone in the room stopped breathing? And what if that challenge nearly turned two of the most famous men on Earth into rivals before it transformed them into friends? On October 15th, 1969, inside NBC studios in Burbank, California, something happened that nobody had planned. Not the producers, not the audience, not Dean Martin, and certainly not Elvis Presley. At first glance, it seemed like any other taping of the Dean Martin show. The giant studio lights blazed overhead like artificial suns. Camera operators rolled equipment across the polished floor. Stage managers barked orders through headsets. The audience slowly filled the seats, dressed in expensive jackets, elegant dresses, and polished shoes. Laughter floated through the building. Music drifted from the stage. Everything felt normal. But hidden beneath that ordinary evening was a collision waiting to happen. A collision between two men who carried entire worlds on their shoulders. One ruled music, the other ruled sports, and neither one liked backing down from a challenge. Backstage, Elvis Presley sat alone in front of a mirror. The room smelled faintly of leather, hairspray, and stage makeup. A row of bright bulbs framed the mirror, casting sharp light across his face. He stared at his reflection, silent, focused. The noise of the studio seemed far away, almost unreal. His black leather jacket rested perfectly across his shoulders. Every strand of hair was in place. Every detail mattered. Because tonight wasn't just another performance. Not for him. Not anymore. A year earlier, critics had quietly begun writing him off. The king is finished. The king is old news. The king belongs to another era. They had said it in newspapers, on television, behind closed doors. Some even said it to his face. Then came the 1968 comeback special, and suddenly those same critics found themselves swallowing every word. Millions watched in disbelief as Elvis stepped onto the stage and reminded the world exactly who he was. Not a memory, not a relic, not a fading star. A force, a living legend. The king had returned, and now every performance felt like another battle. Every stage was a battlefield. Every audience was a jury. Every appearance mattered. Tonight mattered. Elvis adjusted his collar, took a slow breath, then another. Across the room, Charlie Hodge flipped through performance notes. The two men had worked together for years, long enough that Charlie could sense Elvis's mood without a single word being spoken. Tonight, Elvis seemed calm, confident, locked in. But Charlie also noticed something else. There was a hunger in him, the kind of hunger that only exists when someone has already conquered the world and still feels like they have something left to prove. "You good?" Charlie finally asked. Elvis nodded. "Yeah." A pause, then a slight grin. "Just ready to get out there." Charlie smiled. Nothing unusual, nothing strange, nothing to suggest that in less than 5 minutes the entire evening would explode into chaos. Then the dressing room door slammed open, not knocked, not pushed, slammed. The noise cracked through the room like a gunshot. Both men turned instantly, and suddenly all the air seemed to change.
Muhammad Ali stood in the doorway. 27 years old, heavyweight champion of the world, the most charismatic athlete alive. His presence hit the room like a wave. Some people entered spaces. Ali dominated them. The confidence, the energy, the smile, the sheer force of personality, it was overwhelming, even before he spoke. Ali pointed directly at Elvis. There he is. His voice filled every corner of the room. The king. Charlie immediately started laughing. Elvis smiled, but Ali wasn't finished.
Not even close. He strode into the room with the swagger of a man who had never doubted himself for a single second. Every step carried confidence. Every movement demanded attention. He stopped a few feet from Elvis, studied him, then grinned. I had to meet you. Elvis stood and extended his hand. Ali shook it. Firm, strong. For a brief moment, two of the most recognizable hands in the world were locked together. The king, the greatest, face to face. The room watched in silence. Then Ali tilted his head. His eyes sparkled with mischief. You know something? Elvis raised an eyebrow. What? Ali spread his arms dramatically. I'm confused. The room chuckled. Elvis smiled. Oh, yeah? Ali nodded. People call you the king. He pointed at Elvis, then tapped his own chest. They call me the greatest. A pause. His grin widened. So tell me something. Another pause. Who's really number one? The room exploded with laughter. Even Elvis laughed. But beneath the humor, something else had appeared. Competition. Tiny, barely visible, but there. Ali saw it instantly, and he loved it. For Ali, everything was competition. Every conversation, every interview, every handshake, every room, every day. He lived for challenges, especially challenges involving famous people, especially challenges involving legends. He began slowly circling Elvis, not aggressively, not threateningly, almost playfully, like a lion curious about another lion. You sing, a step. You dance, another step. I fight, another. His eyes never left Elvis. But here's what I want to know. The room grew quieter. Charlie stopped smiling. The production assistants near the wall looked at one another. Something was changing. The playful energy was becoming sharper, more focused, more dangerous. Ali stopped directly in front of Elvis, close enough to feel the tension. Can you really move? Elvis blinked. What do you mean? Ali shrugged. I mean, can you really move? His voice lowered. Or is it all television? Nobody laughed this time. The room suddenly felt smaller, warmer, tighter. Even Charlie later admitted that was the exact moment everyone realized this wasn't ordinary celebrity small talk anymore. Two giants were testing each other, not with fists, not with music, with pride. Elvis folded his arms. A slight smile crossed his face, but his eyes hardened. I can move. Ali instantly fired back. Can you? The room erupted again. Ali laughed, Charlie laughed, even Elvis laughed. But this time, there was something underneath it. A spark. A challenge accepted without words. Ali sensed it. His grin grew wider. Oh, come on, Elvis.
He bounced lightly on his feet. "You know who you're talking to?" Without warning, he launched into his famous shuffle. His feet danced across the floor, fast, smooth, effortless, like water flowing downhill. The room stared, even Elvis. Ali spun, pivoted, slid backward, then stopped perfectly balanced. Not a hair out of place, not even breathing hard. "I float like a butterfly," a grin, "and sting like a bee." The room applauded. Ali bowed dramatically, then pointed at Elvis. "Top that." Elvis shook his head, laughing. "That's boxing footwork." Ali shrugged. "Footwork is footwork." "No." Elvis stepped forward. The smile remained, but now there was steel underneath it. "Dancing is different." The room went silent again. Ali's eyes lit up. He had found exactly what he wanted. Resistance, competition, a worthy opponent. "Dancing?" Ali repeated. "Fighting?" He pointed between them. "It's all rhythm." Then he leaned closer. "So tell me." A dangerous smile appeared. "Which one of us has more of it?" For a second, nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The tension became almost physical. You could feel it. Then, suddenly, a knock. A production assistant appeared, his face pale. "Mr. Presley?" Everyone looked. The assistant swallowed. "You're on in 5 minutes." The spell broke, but only partially. The challenge remained hanging in the room like smoke. Neither man looked away. Then something happened. Something small. Something that would change the entire night. Ali smiled. Not a friendly smile, not an unfriendly smile. The smile of a man about to create absolute chaos. "Oh," his eyes widened. "I got an idea." Charlie immediately groaned. That expression never led anywhere good. Ali pointed at Elvis, then at himself. A pause, a grin. "Dance contest." The room froze. Nobody breathed. Nobody moved. For one long second, time itself seemed to stop. Then Elvis slowly blinked. "You serious?" Ali's smile became enormous. As serious as a world title fight. And suddenly, everything changed. For 3 long seconds, nobody said a word. The dressing room felt frozen in time. A dance contest? Between Elvis Presley and Muhammad Ali? The idea was so absurd that it should have died immediately. It didn't. Instead, something far more dangerous happened. Elvis smiled. Not because he thought the idea was funny, because he realized Ali wasn't joking. The heavyweight champion stood there waiting, watching, testing him. The challenge hung in the air like a loaded weapon. Most people would have laughed it off. Most people would have walked away. But great men often share the same weakness: pride. And both of these men had enough pride to fill the entire building. Ali crossed his arms. "So?" The grin remained. "What's the answer?" The room waited. Every eye landed on Elvis. Charlie Hodge already knew what was coming. The tiny change in Elvis's expression gave it away. His jaw tightened. His eyes narrowed slightly. The king had been challenged, and kings rarely retreat. Elvis took a slow step forward, then another, until he stood directly in front of Ali, face to face. 2 legends, 2 icons, Two men who had spent years hearing crowds scream their names. The tension became almost unbearable. Then Elvis spoke, quietly, calmly. "If we're doing this..." A pause, his eyes locked onto Ali's. "We do it in front of everybody." For half a second, Ali looked stunned. Then his entire face lit up. "That's what I'm talking about!" His laughter exploded through the room. He slapped Elvis on the shoulder, hard. The room erupted. People laughed, some cheered, others stared in disbelief. Nobody could believe what they had just witnessed. A joke had become a challenge. The challenge had become a competition. And now the competition was heading toward live television. Charlie rubbed his forehead. "This is insane." Ali pointed at him immediately. "No." A grin. "This is history." 3 minutes later, Dean Martin stood beneath the studio lights, delivering his opening monologue.
The audience was relaxed, happy, completely unaware that backstage, a small tornado had already begun spinning.
Dean sipped from his famous cocktail glass. The crowd laughed at another joke. Everything was proceeding exactly according to plan. Then a production assistant rushed toward him, a folded note in hand. Dean accepted it, glanced down, read it once. His eyebrows rose. He read it again. Then suddenly he began laughing so hard he nearly dropped the glass. The audience looked confused. "What?" Dean asked between laughs. "Oh, you're gonna love this." The crowd leaned forward. Dean unfolded the paper, shook his head, then looked directly into the camera. "Ladies and gentlemen," the smile on his face widened, "I've been doing television for years." A pause. "And tonight may be the first time I've genuinely lost control of my own show." The audience laughed. Dean held up the note. "Apparently," another pause, "Elvis Presley and Muhammad Ali have decided they're having a dance competition." Silence. 1 heartbeat. 2. Then the entire studio exploded. People jumped from their seats. Women screamed. Men shouted. Nobody knew whether Dean was joking. The reaction became so loud that even crew members started laughing. Dean raised both hands. "Oh, no," he laughed. "I'm serious." The audience completely lost its mind. Then Dean pointed toward the stage entrance. "And here they come." The crowd turned, every head, every eye, every camera. The entrance curtains moved, and suddenly Elvis Presley stepped onto the stage. The roar that followed shook the studio walls. People leaped to their feet. Women screamed his name. Flashbulbs exploded like fireworks. The king had arrived, dressed in black leather, confident, calm, dangerously cool. Then something happened that somehow made the noise even louder. Muhammad Ali appeared behind him, shadowboxing, dancing, throwing playful punches into the air. The crowd erupted into absolute chaos.
It felt less like a television show and more like a championship event. Ali raised both arms. The audience roared. Elvis smiled. Dean stared at them both, then looked toward the camera. "I should probably mention..." A laugh escaped him. "None of this was planned." That only made the audience louder, because everyone knew exactly what they were witnessing. Something real, something spontaneous, something impossible to script. Television magic. The kind that happens maybe once in a lifetime. Dean stepped forward. "All right,
He pointed at Ali. Champ, then at Elvis. King, a grin. Explain yourselves. Ali immediately grabbed the microphone. The audience cheered. Oh, it's simple, he pointed at Elvis. They say this man can move. A pause. Ali pointed at himself. And I say, nobody moves better than me. The audience laughed. Ali continued. So we're settling it. The crowd roared. Tonight, another roar. Right here. The roar became deafening. Dean turned toward Elvis. And what do you think about that? Elvis shrugged casually, but everyone could see the fire in his eyes. Well, he smiled. The champ seems pretty confident. The audience laughed. So I figured somebody should humble him. The studio exploded. Ali pretended to be offended. I heard that. The crowd loved it. The energy inside the building was becoming electric. Not ordinary excitement. Something bigger. The feeling that nobody wanted to blink because they might miss history. Dean raised his hands. All right. A dramatic pause. Here's how this works. The audience instantly quieted. Ali and Elvis stepped forward. Dean pointed toward the band. We play music. A pause. Ali goes first. The crowd cheered. Then Elvis. Even louder cheering. And then, Dean smiled. The audience decides. The room shook with applause. Ali bounced excitedly. Elvis cracked his knuckles. Neither wanted to lose. Not now. Not in front of millions. Dean turned toward the band.
But there's one catch. The audience leaned forward. Dean grinned. I choose the music. The crowd exploded again. Ali laughed. Elvis laughed. Nobody knew what was coming. Dean pointed dramatically. Band! The musicians looked ready. Give us something fast! A pause. Something energetic. Then Dean snapped his fingers. James Brown! The audience erupted. The first notes blasted through the studio. Immediately, the room transformed. The beat hit like electricity. Ali's eyes widened. A huge smile spread across his face. Oh, yeah. Without hesitation, he stepped into the spotlight. And what happened next shocked everyone. Because Muhammad Ali could actually dance. Not just move. Dance. His feet came alive, sliding, shuffling, gliding, moving so quickly they seemed disconnected from the floor. The audience gasped. Even Elvis's eyebrows lifted. Ali combined boxing footwork with pure rhythm. His body moved effortlessly with the music. He spun, pivoted, shuffled backward, then forward again. Each movement smoother than the last. The crowd screamed. Ali pointed toward Elvis, still dancing. Watch closely! The audience laughed. Then he winked at a woman in the front row. The woman nearly fainted. The crowd went wild. Every second his confidence grew. Every second his performance became bigger, faster, bolder, more outrageous. Then he began shadow boxing to the beat. Left, right, duck, shuffle, spin. The audience completely lost control. People were standing now, clapping, cheering, screaming. Some of the camera operators were smiling so hard they could barely keep steady shots. Ali fed off every ounce of energy, like a performer, like a rock star.
like a man born for the spotlight. Then the music stopped. The studio exploded. A standing ovation, instant, thunderous. Ali raised both fists, victorious, breathing heavily, sweat glistening under the lights. The audience chanted his name. Ali! 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 The champion pointed toward Elvis,
a grin stretching across his face. Your turn, King. For a brief moment, the entire studio became silent. Every eye shifted. Every camera moved. The spotlight found Elvis. And something changed. The atmosphere, the energy, the feeling in the room. Because everyone suddenly remembered who was standing there. This wasn't just Elvis Presley. This was the man who had changed music. The man who had driven entire crowds into hysteria. The man whose movements had shocked television itself. Slowly, Elvis stepped toward the center of the stage. The audience held its breath. Dean looked toward the band. The musicians nodded, waiting, ready. One legendary performance had just ended. Another was about to begin. And before the next 5 minutes were over, the entire studio would completely lose its mind. The studio was silent. Not ordinary silence. The kind of silence that exists only when hundreds of people are waiting for something extraordinary to happen. Muhammad Ali stood near the edge of the stage, still breathing hard from his performance. The heavyweight champion was smiling, confident, maybe even a little too confident. Across from him, Elvis Presley stepped into the spotlight. The audience barely blinked. Everyone knew they were about to witness something special, but nobody knew just how unforgettable it would become. Dean Martin slowly turned toward the band. A grin stretched across his face. "All right," he pointed toward Elvis. "Show us why they call you the king." The crowd erupted. Then the first notes hit. Jailhouse Rock. The moment that famous rhythm echoed through the studio, something changed. Elvis changed. The relaxed man from backstage disappeared. The smiling celebrity vanished. The performer emerged. The legend emerged. The king emerged. The audience screamed. Elvis took one step, then another. Every movement looked effortless, natural, dangerous, magnetic. It wasn't just dancing. It was control, absolute control. His body moved with the music as if the music itself were flowing through him. The famous hip movement appeared. The audience exploded. Women jumped from their seats. Men whistled. The sound became deafening. Elvis spun, paused, then struck a pose so perfectly timed that even members of the band started laughing in disbelief. Ali watched carefully. At first he smiled. Then his smile faded. Not because he was upset, because he was impressed. Genuinely impressed. The boxer had expected a performer. Instead, he was watching a master. Elvis wasn't simply moving. He was commanding the room. Every eye followed him. Every camera chased him. Every heartbeat inside the studio seemed connected to his rhythm. Then something unexpected happened. Elvis looked directly at Ali. A grin appeared, and suddenly he began imitating the champion's famous boxing shuffle. The crowd exploded. Ali laughed immediately. Elvis bounced across the stage exactly like a heavyweight fighter. Duck, step, shuffle, pivot. The audience couldn't get enough. Then, as smoothly as water flowing downhill, Elvis transitioned back into his own style. The move was so seamless that the crowd erupted into one of the loudest reactions of the night. Ali shook his head, laughing, clapping. Even he couldn't deny it. The king had answered the challenge, and he had answered it brilliantly. When the music finally stopped, the audience launched into a standing ovation so powerful it seemed to shake the walls. People screamed, whistled, stamped their feet. Some were laughing, others looked stunned. Elvis stood center stage, barely breathing hard. Years of performing had turned endurance into second nature. Ali walked toward him. The audience watched. The tension returned instantly, not hostile, competitive. The kind of tension that exists when two champions recognize greatness in each other. Ali extended his hand. Elvis shook it. The crowd cheered. "Not bad," Ali admitted. The audience laughed. Elvis raised an eyebrow. "Not bad?" Ali nodded. "I still think I won." The crowd exploded. Elvis laughed. "Oh, you do?" Dean Martin stepped between them before either could continue. A mischievous smile spread across his face. "Oh, no." The audience immediately started cheering. They knew exactly what that smile meant. Dean had another idea, and that usually meant trouble. "I don't think we're done." The crowd roared. Ali pointed toward himself. "I agree." Elvis shook his head, laughing. Dean raised both hands dramatically. "One final round." The audience erupted. Neither man objected. Neither man wanted the night to end. "Here's the deal." Dean pointed toward both legends. "You dance together." The crowd exploded. Ali looked at Elvis. Elvis looked at Ali. For the first time all night, both men seemed uncertain. Not scared. Not nervous. Just aware that this might be harder than it sounded. The audience sensed it too, and loved every second. Dean pointed toward the band. "Give us something everybody knows." The musicians nodded. Then the opening rhythm of the twist filled the studio. The audience immediately began clapping. Ali stepped forward. Elvis stepped forward. And disaster arrived almost instantly. Both tried leading at the same time. Ali shuffled left. Elvis moved right. They bumped shoulders. The crowd laughed. Ali spun. Elvis stepped forward. They nearly collided again. The audience roared louder. Ali tried another move. Elvis countered with his own. Neither wanted to follow. Neither wanted to surrender control. The result was glorious chaos. The crowd was crying with laughter. Even Dean Martin doubled over. "This is incredible," he shouted. The audience agreed. For two men who looked unstoppable alone, they looked hilariously lost together. After another near collision, Elvis finally threw his hands up. "Wait!" The audience laughed. Ali stopped. "What?" "We need a plan." The crowd erupted. Ali pointed dramatically. "A plan?" he laughed. "You don't plan rhythm." The audience cheered. Elvis pointed toward the floor. "Well, if we don't, one of us is ending up down there." Nobody knew how prophetic those words would become. Dean was laughing so hard tears were forming in his eyes. "This is the greatest thing I've ever seen." The audience agreed. Ali and Elvis stepped aside for a quick discussion. Nobody could hear what they were saying. The mystery only made the crowd louder. Then they returned, both smiling, both nodding. A strategy had been created. The music restarted. This time things worked. At first. Ali performed 8 counts. Then Elvis answered with 8 of his own.
back and forth, like two heavyweight fighters exchanging combinations, only with dance moves. The audience loved it.
Each round became bigger, more dramatic, more competitive. Ali responded to Elvis. Elvis responded to Ali. Neither gave an inch. Neither accepted defeat. Then came the moment nobody forgot. The moment that transformed the entire night from entertaining to legendary. Ali decided he wanted to copy Elvis, specifically one move, the move, the famous Elvis hip swivel. The crowd immediately noticed and started cheering. Ali grinned, confident, fearless, certain he could do anything. After all, he was Muhammad Ali, the greatest. What could possibly go wrong? Everything. Ali attempted the move. The audience immediately began laughing, not because it was terrible, because it looked completely wrong. Elvis made the movement look smooth, natural, effortless. Ali looked like a man wrestling an invisible tornado. The crowd roared. Ali tried harder. The laughter grew louder. Then it happened. One foot slipped just slightly. Maybe the stage floor was slick. Maybe he leaned too far. Maybe the universe simply decided the moment was too perfect to resist. Whatever the reason, Muhammad Ali lost his balance. The audience gasped. Time slowed. Ali's arms flailed. His eyes widened. For one impossible second, the heavyweight champion of the world looked completely helpless. Then, boom! Flat on his back, right in the middle of the stage. Silence. One heartbeat. Two. Then the studio exploded. The laughter was unbelievable. People stood, pointed, clapped. Some were literally wiping tears from their eyes. Even the band stopped playing because they were laughing too hard. Dean Martin nearly dropped his drink. Crew members doubled over. The audience lost all control, and standing directly above the fallen champion was Elvis Presley, smiling, trying desperately not to laugh, failing completely. He extended his hand. Ali looked up at him, then burst into laughter himself. The audience cheered even louder. "Still the greatest dancer?" Elvis asked. The crowd erupted. Ali grabbed his hand, pulled himself up, brushed off his jacket, then pointed directly at Elvis, a huge grin on his face. "Okay." The audience quieted. "Maybe." A pause. The grin widened. "Maybe the king wins this one." The crowd exploded into the loudest ovation of the night. People jumped to their feet. Whistles echoed throughout the studio. The applause became thunder. Neither man looked like a winner. Neither looked like a loser. They looked like two friends who had accidentally created magic. Dean Martin walked over, still laughing, still shaking his head. He looked at the audience, then at Elvis, then at Ali, and finally said what everyone was thinking. Nobody lost tonight. The applause doubled. Everybody won. The crowd erupted again. As the cameras slowly pulled back, Elvis and Ali stood side by side, arms around each other's shoulders, sweating, laughing, smiling. The king, the greatest, two legends at the height of their powers. And yet the moment people remembered most wasn't a victory. It wasn't a performance. It wasn't dominance. It was laughter. Because after the audience left,
after the lights dimmed, after the cameras stopped rolling, something unexpected happened. Elvis and Ali sat together for over an hour. No audience, no reporters, no microphones. Just two men talking. About pressure, about fame, about expectations, about what it feels like when the whole world watches every move you make. And somewhere during that conversation, the competition disappeared. Respect replaced it. Friendship replaced it. Years later, people would remember the dancing, the challenge, the fall, the laughter. But the real story was something deeper. Greatness isn't about never falling. It's about being strong enough to laugh when you do. Because on that October night in 1969, two of the most famous men alive discovered something bigger than winning. They discovered that sometimes the most unforgettable moments happen when pride gives way to joy.
And maybe that's why people still talk about that night. Not because the king danced, not because the greatest fell, but because for a few extraordinary minutes, two legends stopped being legends and became human. The audience loved it. Each round became bigger, more dramatic, more competitive. Ali responded to Elvis. Elvis responded to Ali. Neither gave an inch. Neither accepted defeat. Then came the moment nobody forgot. The moment that transformed the entire night from entertaining to legendary. Ali decided he wanted to copy Elvis. Specifically, one move. The move. The famous Elvis hip swivel. The crowd immediately noticed and started cheering. Ali grinned, confident, fearless, certain he could do anything. After all, he was Muhammad Ali, the greatest. What could possibly go wrong? Everything. Ali attempted the move. The audience immediately began laughing, not because it was terrible, because it looked completely wrong. Elvis made the movement look smooth, natural, effortless. Ali looked like a man wrestling an invisible tornado. The crowd roared. Ali tried harder. The laughter grew louder. Then it happened. One foot slipped just slightly. Maybe the stage floor was slick. Maybe he leaned too far. Maybe the universe simply decided the moment was too perfect to resist. Whatever the reason, Muhammad Ali lost his balance. The audience gasped. Time slowed. Ali's arms flailed. His eyes widened. For one impossible second, the heavyweight champion of the world looked completely helpless. Then, boom, flat on his back, right in the middle of the stage. Silence. One heartbeat. Two. Then the studio exploded. The laughter was unbelievable. People stood, pointed, clapped. Some were literally wiping tears from their eyes. Even the band stopped playing because they were laughing too hard. Dean Martin nearly dropped his drink. Crew members doubled over. The audience lost all control. And standing directly above the fallen champion was Elvis Presley, smiling, trying desperately not to laugh, failing completely. He extended his hand. Ali looked up at him, then burst into laughter himself.
The audience cheered even louder. "Still the greatest dancer?" Elvis asked.